kind of was almost antiquated, and you know, it's not really what is the actual situation that's going on in the facility right now. For example, you know, if I start right from here and walk you through the whole facility, almost everything you see is on the verge of new, or it's like just been within the last year.
We only reported on the ones here exclusively.
Well, see, no, that's one of the misconceptions. We're all under the same license. Okay, all three facilities are under one USDA license. Therefore, when USDA groups us under one thing, it's all three facilities. So some of these are non-compliant issues that were all at all three facilities. Now, just to get it out of the way real quick, all non-compliant issues regarding this institution are fixed immediately. For example, when we had our inspection, I think it was at the end of April, within 3 days, I had all non-compliant issues corrected, and we had sent a letter with pictures of the before and after of all non-compliant issues that they had. We sent pictures to the USDA showing when we had completed them and that we had completed them. Zoos have violations. In fact, Disney Animal Kingdom was written up on a violation just this last inspection period. You know, so all zoos have little things. And the way I've always perceived the USDA is they're there to help us maintain standards and keep our animal quality and care up to a certain area. And with a large acre or a large exhibit area like this, or facility like this, you have 50 acres of maintenance on a daily basis to look after. And what we do on a daily basis is try to look after all those issues and watch them and take care of them as we come up to things. And they told her for a year she could not work with animals. She chose not to work with animals because she did not like the death threats and everything else that she was getting from all over the place. And the other part of that situation, which is really sad, is she was thrust into that area. It wasn't her fault. Essentially what had happened, and this is because the stories are so vague when they come out, but essentially what happened was one night they had a wallaby up at the zoo she was working with. That wallaby was an 18-year-old, very old wallaby, but something must have spooked it at night, and so it ran into a fence. Well, it ran into a fence, got serious head trauma, its eyeball popped out. I mean, it was horrific from what I was told. The keepers that came in that morning, all they did was grab the animal, put it in a carry kennel, wrap bandages around its head, and then wait for Megan to come in. And the curator didn't even do it. And this is one of the problems, is the curator was a whistleblower. She was the one that should have been responsible for taking care of the animal, but instead she just threw it on Megan's lap and said, here, it's your problem, take care of it. And she left the zoo and went to go get produce. Okay, now Megan made a poor decision. I won't say it wasn't the best decision, but she was not doing anything out of malice. It's not like she was going, I'm going to just come in and take care of an animal and euthanize it or something. No, yeah, she came in and she was like distraught. She panicked. She was only 26 years old. You know, it's part of the problem with the field in general, that you have a lot of young people coming into it. And they're coming in with a rose-colored glasses on that's saying, oh, it's a great job. I'm working with animals. This is wonderful. But, you know, sooner or later they realize that it's not a high-paying position, because most of the money doesn't go to the staff. Most of the money goes back into the institution, into the animals. You know, they think, oh, it's, an idealistic job because I have the happiness of working all day outside. Well, working outside every day isn't what it's cut up to be either. So you have young people that get into these positions. And what I think happened was you had these keepers who were blindsided, they didn't know what to do, they panicked. Their curator hadn't taught them what they should need to know. Megan was the director, like me. My animal contact on a daily basis is nil. I don't work with the animals. I literally fix the facility, plan out, manage the staff as far as who's working what day.
But you supervise the people who do.
No, and I most definitely I do, and I would never take the blame off that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, she was in a position that she wasn't used to being in. They had shoved her into that position, and she made a mistake. Granted, she made a mistake. And because of that mistake, she paid her dues. She was in jail, and she also was, forbidden working with animals. She essentially gave up what she loves doing because of a mistake. And she's never going to be able to do it again without having somebody hound her back. So she's already made it through in her mind that she'll never work with animals again. Now approved by the USDA. We had been going off what's called the AVMA guidelines. American Veterinary Medical Association has guidelines. And then within those guidelines, they had approved a whole litany of ways that you could euthanize an animal. One of those ways is gunshot, according to the AVMA.
And that was another thing that I think a lot of people were disturbed by when they heard that.
And you know what? If you really think about it, quite frankly, if I had to decide of how somebody was going to take care of me and put me out, gunshot's not the worst thing that could it be. I mean, lethal injection, I've seen lethal injection go bad lots of times. I was in the military as an animal care specialist in the military, and part of our job in the military was to take in strays on bases overseas, and if those strays had to be put down, actually cause more harm and trauma to the animal than, so there's no lethal injection, or I should say euthanasia system that does not have some ugly details to it. The veterinarian was here just this last week, and she would make the protocol, or not protocol, but she would make the decision what animals need to be euthanized for health reasons or for safety reasons or what else. The only time a staff member would be able to do that without veterinarian consultation right now is if we had an animal escape, and it was a dangerous animal that we had to protect the public, and we found that maybe an animal's attacking the public. That would be the only protocol, and that is by gunshot, because gunshot is still considered legal under that circumstance. Done. There's so many changes that we've made for the animals and for the people that when this hit us, we were kind of blindsided by it. And the way where we're looking at it is, I think not enough was getting out, and we weren't doing a good enough job prior to this letting people know what we were doing and the changes that we were making in-house. For example, all the cat buildings have all brand new lighting, all brand new ventilation, all brand new ceilings in them.
By cat you mean lion, tiger?
Lion, tiger, hog building.
Because the ventilation was one of the issues with the tigers, right?
Yeah, and she in other words, it wasn't strong enough. She wanted more ventilation, and that's what we've done. We put additional ventilation in there to take care of it. And that's the other thing you've got to really take into mind is the regulations are written very vague to be allowed to be interpreted by an investigator as they see. Okay, so it's not always a 100% thing. For example, if they would come out and say we need 300 cubic feet per minute exchange in this building, then we know what size fan to put in. We know what size ventilation to put in. But they don't. They're very vague. And so if they go in there, they say, well, I don't think there's enough ventilation. So you have to just put more in. Everybody is held responsible for their actions, from the bottom to the top. It doesn't matter who you are, you're still responsible for your actions. So, for example, here, people that have done anything wrong, they're not here anymore. In fact, since I've come here, the staff's been turning over.